live. Ben, good morning. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. Welcome back to the conversation. What is life like in Cincinnati right now as they look for their first playoff win since 91? I got to imagine that the streets are buzzing right now around Cincinnati.
Yeah, there's definitely a feel in the city that hasn't been here for a long time. Obviously, the Bengals haven't been to the playoffs since 2015 when they lost to the Steelers in that infamous Vontaze Burfict Antonio Brown game. But like you said, they've been without a playoff win since 1991. And I think that there's a different feel because of what Burrow brings to town. Talking to some folks, I think that there definitely is a sense that there's a renewed sense of optimism because of how the Bengals have played and how they've looked with Burrow at quarterback. And, I was talking to a local radio guy in town, Mo Egger, and he said that, I went during that Andy Dalton run, whenever they had Andy Dalton, A.J. Green, through 2011 to 2015, there wasn't the same sense that this team could really go and do something like there was with Burrow and now with JaMarr playing really well. So I think that the Bengals right now I think there should be a great crowd on Saturday for that game. And the Bengals, let's be honest, I think they're expected to win this game, even though the history suggests that, they haven't been good in 3 decades in the postseason. This is a team that were heavy favorites at the beginning of the week. They beat Vegas earlier in the season, and they've been playing really well in December. So I expect the Bengals to break this streak, and we'll see what this means for the start of the Burrow legacy.
Cincinnati had the AFC North wrapped up last weekend. Burrow decided to watch that one from the bench. I can't imagine what that conversation was like between Zach Taylor and Joey about taking him away from a football game. But where is his health going into this weekend?
I think it's actually in a pretty good place given all the nicks and bruises that he got throughout the season. He had his pinky injury that he suffered and had to play through, and then he had a right knee issue that's been bothering him a little bit as well. So the Bengals decided to give him a week off, and he didn't even make the trip to Cleveland for that Week 18 loss. But he said he feels really good mentally. I think he feels like he's in a good place, and we've definitely seen some good energy this week at practice. And all things considered, I think that as the season has progressed, Burrow has become a lot more comfortable. And the one injury we don't talk about this season is the left knee injury, which is crazy because that's the one that everybody was concerned about, given that he tore multiple ligaments in that knee in his rookie season. And as the year progressed, Burrow has gotten so much more comfortable in how he's looked in the pocket, how he's felt in the pocket. And we've seen that pocket presence increase, and I think that that's why we're seeing him play his best football. So, he has some minor injuries, but the big injury that we all were wondering how he was going to be able to recover from, I think he's done a fantastic job of rehabbing from that and just overall improving his game in the second year. So I don't think enough can be said about the progress that Burrow's made from year 2 to year 1. And really, the Bengals can't ask for, from a team standpoint, can't ask for a much better health situation.
Over 4,600 yards throwing for Burrow here in year 2, 34 touchdowns compared to 14 interceptions. JaMarr Chase steps on the scene in year 1 for his rookie season and sets a franchise record with 1,455 yards and 13 touchdowns on 81 grabs. What is the expectation around these two? We've talked about it down here, Ben, a couple of times. I mean, has the conversation already started of paying Burrow begun within the front office of Cincinnati?
It's a little early to say. Year 2, I think it's really hard. Honestly, I don't even know if you could restructure a rookie contract that early. They may have to wait a little while for that. But I think there's no question that they feel good about their decision to make him the franchise quarterback. And looking back, there was there were some good quarterbacks in that draft class, and the Bengals had a good look at a few of them. Jalen Hurts was at the Senior Bowl along with Justin Herbert, who the Bengals really liked, and there was definitely a lot of optimism that Herbert would be a really good quarterback in the NFL, and he's proven that. But I think that the Bengals feel great about their decision to take Burrow, and he's really elevated the franchise. And one of the big things that can't go understated is that Joe Burrow isn't a loser, and I wrote about that over at ESPN.com last week, and that at every level, he's been able to elevate the team that he's joined and turn them into a championship winner or competing for championships. I think the only exception was in high school was that, he was a defensive stop away from winning a state title here in Ohio, but he had the game-winning drive all wrapped up and ready to go if the defense could have gotten off the field one more time. And we all saw what he did at LSU when he became the starter and was given the reins of a team. And I think you have that same feeling in Cincinnati, and there's a certain sense of confidence and belief that kind of permeates throughout the team, and it all starts with number 9. So, that has been a big thing for them this season. And as we've seen other teams across the NFL who have drafted young quarterbacks and are still wondering, is this guy going to really be the guy who's going to be taking us and carrying us for the next few years? I think the Bengals have to feel pretty good that right now Burrow is someone who can be the centerpiece of their franchise.
You mentioned Burrow's playoff loss. It's guaranteed that he still thinks about that at night. It's the one that got away for him.
No
He'll still
doubt
tell
it.
you that.
No doubt
Also, those high school
It haunts
seniors.
him.
Also, those high school seniors that are still in Ohio that lost that game. They're not happy with you right now.
Think about the 11 on defense. I bet he was dying to play safety. He was like, "Get me out there." But Ben, I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
No, what's funny is Burrow actually had an interception at safety in that playoff.
Of course he
run.
did. Of course he
And
did.
also, I asked him during the week of the state, during the week of the Ohio State Championship, do you think about that game? He goes, I think about it all the time. Like, that's definitely something that he is not happy about.
It's unbelievable. But we were talking about Joe Burrow and JaMarr Chase and how it feels like they kind of hit on both draft picks when obviously Joe Burrow's turned out to be what he is. And then there was conversation about Penei Sewell or JaMarr Chase. They go JaMarr Chase. Do you think that the Bengals have landed not only the Offensive Rookie of the Year, but now the Comeback Player of the Year and Joe Burrow? Are they going to get both awards with JaMarr Chase and Joe Burrow?
You know, I think it's really hard to vote against JaMarr for Offensive Rookie of the Year when you look at what he's done. I mean, I think it might be one of the best seasons in Bengals franchise history as a receiver. Period, not just rookie season.
Yeah.
I mean, he holds a single game receiving record and the season receiving record, and broke Justin Jefferson's record for the post Super Bowl era for most rookie receiving yards. It's really phenomenal. I think for Comeback Player of the Year, he's going to really have his work cut out for him because I think Dak Prescott over in Dallas done a really good job coming back from another big injury. So I think between Dak and Joe, I don't think anybody's going to be mad if either one of those guys wins it. But the fact that they both have put themselves into contention for those awards is big. And really, when you look at it for the long term, we've seen some really good tandem, quarterback wide receiver tandems across the NFL. And when earlier this year, there was, I believe it was the Baltimore defensive coordinator said, asking about, if JaMarr Chase and Joe Burrow deserve the same attention as Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. He kind of said, let's pump the brakes. And Burrow was not too pleased with the fact that Wink said that, we don't need to get him a gold jacket yet. But, I think that tandem of JaMarr and Joe, we're really seeing it. All those reps they had at LSU are really, paying off for the Bengals right now. And that chemistry that they built in Baton Rouge is really, come to fruition and really translated well to the NFL. And, going back to that draft conversation, I was a little skeptical, to be honest, of how important that was. And I really wondered, how much stock do you put into how much a guy played with another guy in college when you're talking about moving that over to the NFL? And I'll tell you what, I think it's made a big difference. You can definitely tell, especially when Joe throws those back shoulder balls to JaMarr, or when he's in a tight situation. He knows, like he said, JaMarr's down there somewhere, and he's been throwing it to JaMarr down there for a long time, and he's got a lot of confidence and faith that if he puts it in JaMarr's vicinity, good things are going to happen.
They are fun to watch, man. They have carried that over to the pro game, which has been incredible to see. Las Vegas and Cincinnati matched up in the regular season. I believe it was Week 11, and Cincinnati actually snapped a skid in going into that matchup, coming away from it with a win. They're favored this weekend. How does this matchup stack up going into Saturday?
I think the Bengals have to feel good about where they're at now. The Raiders are really hot, won their last 4 games to get in the postseason. And I think they do some things really well that could be problems for Cincinnati. Defensively, the Raiders have a really good front that starts with Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue, and Denzel Perriman at linebacker is really good. And the Bengals offensive line has been pretty poor at times throughout the year, if we're being quite honest. And I think, if Crosby and Ngakoue are able to affect Burrow early and kind of rattle him, that may be able to keep him off rhythm and allow the Raiders to really take a stronghold in that game. And then on the other side of the ball, Darren Waller, one of the best tight ends in the league, and Hunter Renfrow, a slot receiver who we all saw dominate when he was at Clemson. He's really coming into his own, and Derek Carr has, even without Henry Ruggs, got a couple of really good, capable options on the offensive side. But, the big thing is how are the Bengals going to attack this game? In the first game, like you said, they used Joe Mixon to go to, really wear that team down. In the second half, they were able to really run the ball well, and that's what the Bengals wanted to do. But at the same time, I wonder now that the offense is really rolling. We see them using Burrow a lot as he drops back, and he's been, really prolific in these last few games. Will the Bengals try to basically boat race, the Raiders instead of trying to ground and pound like they did the first time? So I think it's going to be really fascinating to see how Cincinnati attacks Vegas, and it'll tell us a lot about how good they feel about this team.
The locker room was an absolute madhouse after they clinched their position in the division. You got to see one of our favorite versions of Joe Burrow, Cigar Joe Burrow, and it looks like the locker room really has a lot of chemistry. Were they kind of gathered around the TV to watch the Raiders-Chargers game to see who they were going to play in their first matchup in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they were. By that time, everybody was home. I was asleep. I think I said, "Wake me up in the morning. We'll figure out who's playing in the wild card game. It ain't gonna matter to me either way." But I think they were all trying to figure out what was going on. Zach Taylor, the coach, said, "Yeah, it was kind of he kind of expressed the same kind of bizarre feeling that everybody had as that game went into overtime, and they kind of whatever happened. But I think it's actually a good matchup for the Bengals. To get the Raiders instead of the Patriots. I think they may have, with Bill Belichick, you never can really count them out. I know that the Patriots haven't been, I think they haven't been maybe as good as we would have liked or teams people would have liked towards the end of the season. But, with Belichick in there, I think that would have been a pretty tough matchup and an interesting coaching matchup going up against Zach Taylor. But when you look at how things shake out for the Bengals, when you look at it, there's really no reason not to think that Burrow and JaMarr and the Bengals could be playing for an AFC championship. I mean, this conference has been wide open the entire year. Man. Nobody's really been able to separate themselves. And the fact that they were able to beat Kansas City the way they did in Week 17 goes to show that, they can hang with the best in the NFL right now, which is huge at this point in the season. So if they can get past this game, we'll see what the draw looks like for the divisional round. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Bengals could be playing for Super Bowl.
No doubt. I know you said they could play for the AFC Championship game, which I fully believe that. They have Joey B as a franchise guy. Organization going to give Joey B and the boys an indoor facility finally, I know he's a grinder and he gets through a bunch of stuff, but let's get these guys out the cold weather.
The players are irrelevant here. Let's talk about the writers. The writers are out there.
I saw Zach giving you some shit, dude.
That's what we really need. We need more media petitions to get an indoor facility. But, it's interesting. There's always been chatter about it. Will the Bengals ever get one? Zach Taylor seemed pretty happy in the fact that they've been practicing in the cold all week, and they're going to get a team from Vegas who plays indoors to come out here and play when it's going to be 20 degrees. So, if they win, it may set back the movement for an indoor facility.
You can have the option of going indoor, outdoor. If you need to practice outdoor, you can practice, but you give them the option,
Especially for the writers.
You're preaching to the choir. I come from Texas, and the worst high school football teams have indoor facilities.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
There's a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
How many shirts do you have on right now?
I've only got I'm indoors. I've got the house. I've got the thermostat set at 66 degrees. I feel great. When I get out there, I might wear a cutoff shirt when I go out there today. It's going to be 32. It'll be fine. I can handle it.
Ben, are we correct on this? Is the last Bengals win, is it with the Bo Jackson injury?
That was the Bo Jackson game. So there is the curse of Bo Jackson is a real thing in Cincinnati. So the Bengals won their first round game in the 1990-91 playoff season. Second round game was a divisional game. And that would happen to be Bo Jackson's final game. He got hurt, the hip dislocated, and we all know what happened after that. But since then, the Bengals have not won a game, and over time, it has morphed into the curse of Bo Jackson. And so it's quite comical how it works out. I really don't think curses are real, but there's been so much bad luck that people say we got to attribute it to something. And now yesterday, T. Higgins popped up on the injury report with a mysterious foot injury, and I watched him at the beginning of practice. So if I'm about to go out there here in a little bit, and if T's not there and he's not practicing, he's hurt for this game, those curse takes are really going to start flying around, especially if the Bengals don't end up winning this game. So, yes, the curse of Bo Jackson's a real thing. We wrote about it over on ESPN.com. So if you're interested, please go check that out.
Luckily for y'all have the voodoo doctor in town, Joey Burrow. No hexes on Burrow. No way. It's a great read. Ben Baby has authored a lot of great reads over at ESPN.com, and one of them is titled "Bo Knows Hexes: How the Bengals Are Poised to Break Through the Curse of Bo Jackson versus the Raiders this Saturday." All the eyeballs from South Louisiana and all over our state will be draped on Cincinnati this Saturday at 3:30 for the kickoff versus Vegas. Thank you for the insight, Ben. We'll be touching base soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, y'all.
Due date.